With the likes of Pedri, Gavi and Frenkie de Jong, it looks like Barcelona won't have to worry about their midfield for the coming years, and within some time they might very well have the best midfield in the world. But while Barca fans have been hyped about Pedri and Gavi, another La Masia talent has disappeared from the radar: Nico Gonzalez. He decided to go out on loan to Valencia last summer, and ever since he's not been talked about all too often. So how has he actually done this far? And was it the right choice to go out on loan to Valencia? In this video we'll take a closer look at it, so make sure to stay tuned as this is definitely going to be interesting. So let's go back in time to the summer of 2022. Nico Gonzalez had just broken through in Barcelona's first team and he had showed a lot of promising signs in his first season for the club. Being able to keep the ball under pressure and his physicality were only some of his assets. So it definitely looks like he had the qualities to keep developing in Barcelona in the coming years next to the likes of Pedri and Gavi, and it looked like he could be a valuable option for Xavi this season. But with the signing of Frenkie and Frenkie de Jong staying at the club, the midfield was absolutely stacked with options. And that must have made Nico Gonzalez doubt whether Barcelona was still the best place to keep developing. If you look at how little Frenkie has played throughout the season thus far, you could maybe assume that Nico Gonzalez would have had the same amount of game time. And from that point of view, it was definitely not a dumb decision to eventually go on a loan to a club like Valencia. So, while a lot of fans might have preferred him to stay at Barca in the summer, it looked like he might have made the right decision. So, how has it been since signing for Valencia? Well, he's played 13 games in La Liga thus far, starting 6 games and being a substitute in 7. And for the last month or so, he's been out injured. He has also had less game time than other midfielders like Andre Almeida, Hugo Guillamon, Yunus Musa and even our old friend Ilaix Moriba. So it's fair to say that he's not been one of Valencia's crucial players this season, he's rather been a rotational player. And that means that he's not really playing more than the season before at Barcelona, during which he started 12 games and was a substitute in 15 games and 31 games in total in La Liga. And then we're not counting the Champions League and Europa League. So, in total, you can see that he will probably have played more last season at Barcelona than he will this season at Valencia. The main reason why Nico left Barcelona in the first place was basically to get more playing time elsewhere than he would have at Barcelona. And while there would indeed have been more competition in Barca's midfield than last season if he would have stayed, I do think that he would have gotten almost as much playing time at Barcelona as at Valencia right now. At Barcelona though, he would have been in an environment that he was already familiar with, and in a team that needed more rotation because of the busier schedule. So if he would have stayed at Barcelona, he probably would have gotten a similar amount of game time in a team that is better for his developments. That's the first big reason why staying in Barcelona was probably the better choice after all. Another problem that he's had in his first few months at Valencia is the fact that he's had to adapt to a new system and compete with other midfielders that already fitted into that system. And since he didn't immediately fit in as well into the team as other midfielders, he ended up being a substitute most of the time, and consequently he didn't get the necessary game time to further adapt to the system. And with Valencia having a very mediocre season, being 17th in La Liga, and Gattuso being sacked, it's definitely fair to say that there will be nicer teams to develop at than Valencia at the moment. So even if going out on loan was maybe a good option, going to Valencia probably wasn't. Because if you think back about Nico's previous season at Barcelona, he actually fitted in better at Barcelona then than he now fits in at Valencia, which is quite logical as one of La Masia's biggest talents. And the fact that he's out injured right now until March doesn't help, of course. So when he goes back to Barcelona at the end of the season, I don't think we're going to have an improved version of Nico Gonzalez. On the contrary, his growth might have stagnated while he will have to readapt to Xavi's system, where now players like Gavi, Pedri and Frenkie de Jong will fit in even better than 1 year ago. So again, going to Valencia and trying to adapt to another system didn't really go well, while he was already a good option for Xavi's Barcelona, which we had seen the season before. That's just another reason why staying at Barcelona might have been a better decision after all, because now he's basically just wasting 1 year of his development at Valencia. So, did Nico Gonzalez make the wrong decision by going out on loan to Valencia? Absolutely. With less playing time than the season before at Barcelona and not fitting in a new system as well as he fitted in into Xavi's system at Barcelona. So, let's take a look at the other option that he had, just staying at Barcelona. There's no doubt that getting playing time in Xavi's team would have been more difficult than the season before because of all the options that Xavi would have had. And as talented as Nico Gonzalez might be, I don't think he would have ever been above Gavi or Pedri in the pecking order. As in the previous season, Gavi had already had more game time than Nico, and the same would have gone for Pedri if it wasn't for his injuries. Frenkie de Jong and Busquets would have been above him in the pecking order too, probably. So in the best case scenario, Nico would have still been a rotational player. But Xavi might have preferred him above Kessié, as Kessié has had it difficult to fit into Xavi's system properly, whereas Nico as a La Masia talent had already proven that he could fit in well. And as a young player important for Barcelona's future, Xavi would have probably picked him above Kessié as a rotational player. And again, Nico wouldn't have been a starting 11 player, but it's not like he's a starting 11 player at Valencia right now either. So he would have gotten a similar amount of game time as he's getting now, only in a club that is experiencing a better season that he already knows, and that has a busier schedule and therefore a bigger need for rotational players. So again, staying in Barcelona would have been the better option. Lastly, let's take a look at how Nico should move on from here. How will his future look? At the end of the season he returns to Barcelona, and if I were him I wouldn't go out on loan again. And if I would do so, I would go to a better Spanish club like Betis or Villarreal, who also play a similar type of football to that of Barcelona and where there's just more of a stable environment than at Valencia. But let's assume he just stays at Barcelona. Then I wouldn't buy any new central midfielders, and Nico could be the perfect rotational player in case Pedri, Gavi or Frenkie de Jong need rests. With Busquets possibly retiring though, or at least leaving Barça, the Blaugrana might look for a defensive midfielder if Xavi doesn't consider Frenkie de Jong as his main option there. But when it comes to Nico Gonzalez, Xavi has primarily played him in a central midfield role, so he would be a rotational player for Pedri and Gavi. And in that case you could even sell Kessié or let him go out on loan, since he doesn't fit in as well as Nico probably will once he gets a chance to play for Barcelona again next season. And in the future he might very well become a great midfielder, and Xavi could try to find a way to play with both him, Gavi, De Jong and Pedri in a starting 11, like he does now with Gavi, Pedri, De Jong and Busquets. Or like Spain has done in the past with Xabi Alonso, Busquets, Xavi, Iniesta, David Silva and Fabregas. So, does Nico Gonzalez still have a future as a football player? Of course. He's the same age as Pedri and he's already showed promising signs when he played for Barcelona last season. Now he's basically just wasted 1 year of his development at Valencia. So he did make the wrong decision. But in the coming seasons he could very well get quite a good amount of game time at Barcelona and become a reliable midfield option for the coming decade. Or we could sell him on for a good amount of money once he has further improved. But to improve, Barcelona is likely to be the best place for him to develop. So while we can never predict what will happen, I hope he just stays at Barcelona next season and gets some valuable playing time, so that he still has a great career. That was it for today's video. I know I've been away for quite a while, well, more than quite a while actually, but I'm back now and there will be more new content coming in the following weeks. So make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and feel free to share your own opinion in the comments down below. Força Barça and have a good day.